You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, check out chrisblair.com. Hey everybody, this is Stories Behind the Songs, and I am your host, Chris Blair. Thank you so much for listening. My guest this week is such an incredible guy. I met him in Key West in 2016, and we've been family since we first met. He is from Nigeria, and he moved to Connecticut when he was 6, and has an incredible family story that he talks about that has instilled the person that he is still to this day. He talks about how he was born blind in his left eye, and because of an accident with a water gun, he became fully blind in both eyes at the age of 11. But through that and what he had to go through in that process, he had to sit still a lot and he got obsessed with the piano. He's going to talk about that entire story and how that obsession with the piano eventually gets him to where he is today. You've heard his songs on the radio. You've probably heard songs that he's written for other people. He is an incredible guy. I am talking about Blessing Offor. This guy is incredibly talented, and his story is so cool. He's going to talk about Tin Roof that he wrote with Natalie Hemby that was released with Chris Tomlin and Friends in 2020. He's going to talk about Brighter Days that was 17 on the Billboard in 2022. I love this song. I'm obsessed with it. He's going to talk about how he went through a really hard time losing his sister, Mercy, and then that led him to write My Tribe, which was number 2, and other songs on that album called Grace, and just some incredible things. He is just, again, incredibly talented. I can't say it enough. This is such a great episode. Let's get to it. Here is Stories Behind the Songs with my buddy, Blessing Offor. Hey everybody, this is Chris Blair, another episode of Stories Behind the Songs, and I am so excited. Today I am sitting down with my good friend, Blessing Offor. How you doing, man?
Dude, it's a beautiful day. The allergies aren't too bad.
Not
I'm feeling
too
good.
Bad. Yeah. Man, we've been trying to do this for months, and I'm so excited that you've been so busy. I'm so proud of you, man. It's like been sitting on the sidelines watching just everything blow up over the last several years. It's awesome.
Man, it's a journey, huh?
And by the time this will come out in a couple weeks, so obviously it'll be done. But like tonight, you're playing the Grammy block party, right?
Yes, dude. You know, it's really funny. We were just talking about Key West 2016-17. All of those things Blessing wanted to do in 2016-17 have more than happened.
Yeah,
man. And it's just super surreal to look back, and because when things are happening, they're usually happening too fast to really look back. People go, "Can you believe you did blah, blah, blah?" I'm like, I can't think about that right now. There's 9 more things a week from now that I need to focus on. But like playing the Grammy anything is amazing. You know what I mean? And so at some point I'm going to sit and look back at it all. But right now we just got to like check things off the list. You know what I mean? And not mess up. Yeah. My word every day to myself is, okay, don't mess it up. You know what I mean?
So, I love it. Yeah, that was when I met you. It was in 2016 at the Key West Songwriters Festival. And I remember, I think it was Dylan Dixon, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God, I love him. Yes.
Yeah, we were having the big, we called it the TLR Days pool party. And we had everybody come over and we'd just basically do this jam session for hours.
Yes.
And Dylan was like, "Hey, I've got this guy that I've met, and I want to bring him over." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's welcome." And it's like, you showed up, and dude, we just hit it off right away. Bro. And then I heard you sing, and I was like, "Bro, come on,
man." Honestly, Dylan Dixon, my friend Dave was there at the time. Dave Palmer. I'd only moved to Nashville in 2015. So that next summer was a year living in Nashville. And man, Nashville is just one of these places. It's just full of people that love music and love other people. And I can't tell you how much this town has just always embraced me. And even in Key West, everybody was just like, "Oh my God, what do you do? Why are you?" And it was just immediate family. So I always look back on days like that, like the back in the day, you know what I mean? Before anything was anything.
Yeah.
And there was still, even then, just joy, you know what I mean? And people just happy to be there, you know? And that's how you know you're in the right place.
It's so true, man. This town is like, In a minute, I want to back up and I want to talk about how you got to Nashville. But yeah, just to that point, it's just that is one of the first things that I recognized when I first moved here. You know, not that, you know, I didn't have great people where I grew up, but it was just something different, magical about Nashville. And you like, everybody is nice. Everybody says hi. Everybody's like, they're not out to like compete with you.
Correct.
You know, or they, if they are, it's like a friendly competition, right? It's
I mean, we can all win.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, listen, they want the number one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then like afterward, you go to lunch. You know?
Exactly.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right. So let's go back and just quickly tell the story. And I mean, we've known each other for a long time and I've heard a lot of your story. So I'll kind of tee it up, but like I tell all my guests, like pretend I don't know anything.
Perfect.
Because I want to share with you've got such a beautiful story and I want to share it. So from Nigeria, you moved over
to Connecticut when I was 6.
Yeah. So walk me through all of that.
So youngest of 6 kids, 2 parents. My dad was and is just one of the most amazing people I've ever known. My mom, same. You know, they owned businesses back home, just worked really, really hard. And it's funny because the life we lived, when I tell people about it now, it sounds crazy, but like we were that family where someone could knock on the door and be like, hey, I don't have any food. And we'd be like, oh, well, come on in. There's food. Come eat. And if someone didn't have somewhere to stay, they would, you know, they'd say, hey, something just told me to come here. And so my dad lived and walked out his faith in a way that was just so authentic that it was all I ever knew and I was just used to it. But it wasn't like a bombastic, showy, loud thing. It was what it was, you know? And he'd tell us these casual stories about like, you know, people being shocked when he gave them money back from a construction project that was under budget. And he'd bring the money back and they'd be like, why are you doing this? And he'd say, well, you paid me X, I paid my guys Y, cost of, you know, material was this, and you have this left over. And they were like, yeah, but everybody would just keep that. And he said, well, that's not mine. You know what I mean? And that was shocking in a third world country where like bribes and all this stuff is very commonplace. So I got to watch that as a kid. And, you know, when you're 6, 5, 4, you barely understand anything, but I heard the stories and they live in my brain, you know? So my uncle was a big soccer star back in the day. So he came here to play soccer. He played internationally. He played for a bunch of colleges here, and he pivoted from that to school, as Nigerian immigrants and immigrants in general usually do. Got a bunch of degrees and is a lawyer now. And so when I was 6, he was like, "Hey, I want Blessing to come with. I want him to come to America. I'm going to bring him here." Because I was born blind in my left eye from congenital glaucoma. So we came to the States when I was 6 to treat the right eye, which had vision, a lot of vision.
Yeah.
So we wanted to come, A, stabilize it, and B, just go to school and generally do what we couldn't do in Nigeria. For me, for someone who was blind or low vision at that point, which is like get really good education, because back home they were like, I think Blessing's mentally challenged. You know what I mean? Like their assumption, because I couldn't see the board, was that I was mentally, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But we came here and I did school, went to Yale. So literally just like happened to move next to the best hospital in the world. Grew up right outside of New Haven, Connecticut, Hamden. Hey, went to Yale. They stabilized the vision, right? And then when I was 11-ish, I got shot in the good eye with a water gun, and it detached the back of my retina. So like all that surgery they did to like piece the eye together and like keep it functioning, a super soaker just like scrambled within 24 hours, you know what I mean? And right around that time, we got a piano at the house. And so as one thing was happening, the other thing was happening. And I'd already kind of been playing piano, being musical, but also as a kid, you're like running around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with this big old accident, they went and reattached the retina, and they were doing all this stuff that just required me to sit still. So in that sitting still, they were like, hey, you can't, if you jostle this, very fragile eye that we're trying to hold together, you're going to make it worse. So like the best thing, ironically, to do was just sit and play piano. And so I got obsessed with the piano, and that obsession is why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the beginning of it.
Yeah. So then how, through that process, when and how did you figure out, okay, I'm going to leave Connecticut and I'm going to get to Nashville?
So at some point, I started telling people I'm going to be a singer-songwriter, because even at 9, 10, 11, 12, I loved music. And I remember the first time I had the conscious thought of, I want to do music. I was 7. And I was in the back seat of my babysitter's car, and I can't remember the song, but something about it. I remember literally looking out the window. Her name was Miss May. She'd just gotten her nails done. And I was looking out of the window, and she was like, oh man, I hope these nails dry. And I wish I could remember the music, but I went, whatever I just heard, I want to do. And that was the first conscious thought that I can remember of like music, right? But as a 7-year-old would, you like let it go because you want McDonald's or something, like,
Yeah.
So, but right around when the piano came in, I was like, man, I really want to play piano and write songs. And so then I started telling people I'm going to be a singer-songwriter. I really meant it, but of course kids say a lot of things. Kids want to be like robots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, to whatever extent anyone believed a 12-year-old. And so I started writing songs. Quite terrible at first, if I do say so myself. And then I had this mentor named Eric Brown. And Eric had done a lot of performing, done a lot of stuff in New York. So he knew music. And I remember I was like, Eric, I want you to help me with this. He goes, do you really want to do this professionally? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay, I'm going to judge you like a professional. I said, okay, great. I have a song. I want you to come hear this new song I wrote. And he goes, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready, coach. He goes, okay. He comes over, I play him this song, and I'm just like proud of myself. And I finish, and he goes, that was the worst song I've ever heard. Yeah. You've wasted 4 minutes of my life. I don't know why I came. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, that was horrible. I was 13. He goes, yeah, that was horrible. And I was like, wait, everybody else says it was good. And he goes, yeah, it's because you're 13. They just don't want to hurt your feelings. And he goes, I don't care. He's like, if you want to do this professionally, this is what you have to get used to. That was a terrible song. Now you're good and you can do better, but that wasn't it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And man, everybody I tell that story to, they go, why is he so mean? I was like, no, you misunderstand. Why was he that nice?
Yeah.
That kind, right? To take me seriously enough to tell me it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think 13 was just right, because maybe at 8, you don't want to be that mean. You know what I mean? And some people think 13, I was perfectly fine with it. It hurt my feelings for a minute, but like, then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write a better one. And that was it. The answer wasn't cool, I'm going to quit. It was like, okay, cool, I'm going to do a better one.
Yeah.
And there was a better one, hopefully. And, every time I would play out, I'd say, Eric, come to my show. And I would get off stage and everybody would be like, Blessing, that was so great. And I was always, okay, where's Eric? Because after everybody got through making me feel good, which is awesome, right? I'd go, okay, Eric, how was it? And he'd be like, yeah, it was all right. And I'd say, okay. And that was a good estimation of where I was.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I loved that I could get all the feel good from my friends and the community, because Hamden loved me and loves me, right? And you need that. But then where you go for like a reality check. And that's also good,
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So that you're learning the process, you're learning the rules, if you will. Writing better songs,
hopefully.
and then yeah. So then 2015, you make the move to Nashville and you get engulfed. And that brings us to, shortly after that when we met.
Yes.
So walk me through kind of that progression and then how you got to, your deals and all that.
So it's interesting, the journey to Nashville, because as everybody will attest, there's always that hard lesson of you can't trust everybody you meet, right? And when I first came to Nashville, I had to learn that lesson. I was around a lot of people that I thought were great friends in business, and it took a couple years to realize they weren't. And so my first few years in Nashville was mired in dealing with business relationships that were not good for me. And I didn't know for a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But every once in a while I would hear something. They'd be like, hey, you hang out with so-and-so. And I'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, wait, what's that tone? And they'd be like, hey man, just, be careful. And then like you're new to town and you don't want to think anybody would ever mean anything bad. But like, why am I getting this same thing about these people from so many directions, you know what I mean? And so it took a couple of years to kind of, shed that skin, right?
Yeah.
And then we got into the what I call the starving artist days, where because I left some professional relationships behind, I wasn't making money. You know what I mean? And then like I was like, okay, cool. It's like 2018. I have this apartment and I don't have any deals. What the heck do I do? And man, I nobody wants to ever admit how bad it got, but I love admitting how bad it got. So like my friends were paying my rent. Like at least half that year, my friends would pay my rent. I'd call my friend Tammy in particular. I always talk about Tammy. I'd say, Tammy, I need your credit card. I need your credit card. And so much so that she had my my building's account portal saved on her computer. And so she'd literally log in from LA and pay my rent. And I mean, I've paid her back, but like, that's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And so it's people like that, in all facets of life that get you to where you're going. Because in 2018, I mean, you'd hear me play and you'd go, oh, he's really good. But there wasn't I didn't know when the good stuff would happen. I was just like, I just know music is the answer. And I don't know how that happens, but it is, you know what I mean? And so I needed friends that would stand by me and go, yeah, you're right. You are good and it will happen. And so much so, here's a bunch of money, you know what I mean? And the fun stuff didn't really start happening till, I'm going to give Joe Fisher a shout out. This guy named Joe Fisher, wonderful guy. And Joe put me in my first room that started everything. And that was with Natalie Hemby. Friend to the room, Natalie Hemby.
Yeah.
Queen. And it was after I'd left the environment that I shouldn't have been in so I left that situation, and about a year later, fall of 2018, I had a session with Natalie, and that's when I wrote Tin Roof. And Tin Roof is a song of mine that it has this like cottage fan base.
I'm
you
obsessed.
know what I love that song. And so
you did that with Chris Tomlin.
Yes, exactly. And I wrote it, and it came out with on a Chris Tomlin and Friends record. And that's a funny story because Tin Roof got sent to Universal, and immediately everybody was like, what is this song? And a couple artists have almost put it out, so much so that there are a couple work tapes floating around of some cool people singing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fast forward to meeting Chris, and he goes, hey, I heard this song of yours. I want to put it on this Chris Tomlin and Friends record. And like, I told him, I was like, hey man, A, yes. And B, like, I don't know if being a Christian artist was at the top of my list of things to do. Like, I just love songs. I'm a Christian. I love songs, and I just love writing songs. And I write different songs, and I write love songs, and I write hope songs, and I write pain songs. And I said, Christian music just feels like all they want to do is tell you how low the valley is, whatever that means, and then immediately tell you, but it's going to be fun. I was like, it doesn't feel very honest. It just feels like gloss. You know what I mean? And I said, if you want to put out Tin Roof, I got to tell you, it's a real song. And he goes, dude, I want to, like, he believed in it. And then he brought me to Universal. And again, I was like, again, I'm going to, you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to like sell yourself short at a job interview. But I was like, guys, because capital CMG. I was like, guys, again, Christian artist, I don't want to be a worship leader. So if that's what you guys are looking for, I'm not the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a voice in my head going, shut up, just get the deal. You know what I mean? But like, you got to be authentic. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if worship leader. And they go, we don't want you to be a worship leader. We want you to be yourself. And man.
And this was?
Capital.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want people that just believe in what you do. Yeah. And they believe and believed then and believe now, and they've just been the greatest partners ever, and that's where we are,
This episode is brought to you by Sennheiser microphones. When we first started this podcast, we were using some older microphones, and Sennheiser came in and sponsored us and gave us some MK4s and 914s. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's made all of the difference in the world. We love these microphones. We use them at the listening room as well. And I just can't say enough great things about them. Go check out Sennheiser.com. If you are into music in any way, their microphones are hands down the best on the planet. Go check them out, Sennheiser.com. And thank you, Sennheiser, for the support and the sponsorship. We love y'all. Man, so yeah, that happens. And then that's around 2022, is that right?
Yeah. So
something like that? Yeah.
The Chris Tomlin and Friends record came out in 2020, actually. Okay. July. That's when that came out. I signed my deal.
Brighter Days was 22.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I signed my deal later that year. And it's funny because it was mid-pandemic, right? Yeah. And I have friends who got deals at the beginning of pandemic, like February-ish, and lost their deals. And I signed my deal October of 2020, and it was pandemic enough that we'd all been used to it, and like people could see that there was an end to it. And so it was weird that like signing my deal midway through a pandemic was kind of beneficial because we had a year of quiet where no one was expecting anything from us. We just signed a deal, and we had like a year of just get ready time before the world really opened up again. And so in that year, we made an EP, Brighter Days got written. I got hopefully better at writing. I just wrote so much in that year because everything was kind of still shut down, only just starting to open up. And it was just a good time to hit pause, right? I mean, everything hit pause. Yeah. But like, we just had get ready time. And as things started opening up again, Brighter Days was just like that song that people clung on to in a really beautiful way. And man, we couldn't have planned it better. We didn't plan it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it just happened in this beautiful, organic way. And here we are,
That song, another song I'm obsessed with, ends up going to 17 on Billboard. Yep. And just such a great song. Emerson, my daughter, who is with us today, sitting in the room, she is a huge fan. I'm going to embarrass her a little bit. She's a huge fan, and she loves that song. She was singing it like all morning knowing that you were coming.
Emerson, do you want to sing it for us? No.
There's gonna be... Come on.
She's like, please stop.
But yeah, man, that was such the great traction that was happening right then. And just song after song, and you started touring and doing all this stuff. Touring. kind of walk me through, like, what was that like when you know, like, you're going from, actually, let me take a step back, because I want to make a point, and I'm sure, like, I know your heart, and I'm sure that you've thought of it in this way, but just as you were telling your story, it just was hitting me that, like, kind of full circle, growing up, watching your dad open the door for people who didn't have money, couldn't eat, needed a place to stay or whatever. And then you find yourself in that exact situation.
Absolutely.
And
here are the friends.
Yeah. And, like, I think that's just such a testament to, like, who you are and how you grew up, and your heart, that people are like, they just want to help you. They just, they love you. And the fact that you talked about Tammy, right?
Yeah, Tammy. That's my sister. I love her.
Yeah. And
literally,
you're like, you know, you paid her back.
Yeah.
Where that hit me too, because there's so many people, that probably would have been very, very gracious in those situations, but maybe wouldn't have thought to, like, pay them back.
Yeah.
Like, just, hey, thank you for the help,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, you go through all of that, success starts happening. You take care of these people that helped you through those hard times. And then that transition that really was within just a few years, that now all of a sudden you're out playing these huge shows and everybody's singing the songs back to you.
Bro,
like,
it's the most mind-blowing thing. We're playing Red Rocks. I played Red Rocks for the first time with Chris.
Yeah.
Last May, maybe 2 Mays ago. But I'm going back in August with a bunch of people, and I heard people sing Brighter Days, and I was like, oh my God. It was one of my first, like, oh, it's happening moments. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it makes me emotional just to think about it. You know, so it's...
Do you know when is that show?
August 1st, I believe.
August 1st.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. And it's one of those, this whole thing is surreal, because I have friends that are, you know, they call Nashville a 10-year town.
Yeah.
And I came in 15, and all of this started happening in 20. So I'm blessed to have cut it down in half.
Yeah.
But I have friends, you know, that are still grinding away at it. And it's not for any reason. It's not because they're not good enough. It's just like, if you love this thing, this music thing, you have to wake up and still love it no matter what is or isn't happening. And that's just the trick to it. Otherwise, you'll be really miserable. Because I remember going, how come this is happening for so-and-so? It's not happening for me. And blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, you have to remove, like, results from the equation. Like, you just have to say, I love this job, and I'm going to do this job. And as long as I can do it, that's all. The doing it is the joy. Everything else is icing. You know what I mean? And if you're thinking of it any other way, you're going to really hurt yourself. Yeah. You know?
Oh, it's so good, man. Yeah. Such great advice.
Hey.
Kind of stopped me in my tracks just thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, like, I want to dive into lyrically, you know, some songs, and if you're okay with it,
of course.
You know, one of the great stories, and I know it was a very painful time for you, but I want to talk about Mercy.
Yeah. Oh, my sister. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that?
Man, so coming from Nigeria, you learn a few things. And if y'all ever, well, you've been to India. Yeah. It's amazing how happy people are in third world countries. You know what I mean? It's amazing, because they are happier than they should be considering where they are. Right. And I tell people that the beauty of coming from a third world country is that you quickly learn that your happiness, your joy, is not dependent on your physical circumstances. It can't be. Because if that was true, you'd go to those places and everybody would be miserable. Now, they might be hungry, they might be sick, they might be a lot of things, but they're happy, you know? And coming here, you know, which I love this place beyond, you know what I mean? Huge fan of America. Yay. You know what I mean? Like, just, you know, can't say enough. And, not but, and what you get to learn in a wealthy place is that we almost do the opposite. We tie our happiness to physical things. And thus, a lot of us are miserable, because if you tie your happiness to anything external, you will always be disappointed. And so it's, my sister was perfectly fine. You know what I mean? She didn't die of anything, like it wasn't cancer or anything. She had a stomach, for like a year, she was like, my stomach just hurts. You know what I mean? She had issues digesting and this, that, and the other thing. So if it was in America, you'd be like, well, listen, we'll go see the gastroenterologist, and they'll, like, if it's an ulcer, they'll whatever, and then you'll be good, right? That's all it would have been here. But back home, in that third world situation, the medical, lack of medical know-how, or just like whatever the system is there. My brother always says, if you want to stay healthy in Nigeria, if you're sick, don't go to the doctors, because they will find some way to make you sicker. You know what I mean? So she goes to the doctors, and just for a year, they could do nothing, or like just whatever they were prescribing wasn't working. We think here, our doctor friends here just think she probably had an ulcer that eventually made her body septic. You know what I mean? And it's such a simple thing. But right around New Year's, this last New Year's, Christmas, she was cool. She like called my parents, everybody talked. And then the 27th, it went downhill real fast. And then she passed. And man, that was like a gut punch, because everything's going great. And like, I'm about to go home for the first time this fall. And I had in my mind this picture, right? The picture of everybody back together again, right? And we can't have that the same way I thought we could. And that's really sad. And it's, beyond. It's like, yeah, so there is just, again, that awareness that life is a very fragile thing. And where I'm from, you quickly learn to base your joy on things that are deeper than what car you're driving, whether you have food in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, if anybody hearing my voice right now has not been to a third world country, you should go. Yeah. Which sounds counterintuitive, but you should go, because it'll give you perspective real quick.
Yeah, we went to India, and I've also been to South Africa. And
so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's so like, yeah, I mean, I literally saw these kids and these families with tarps, like, literally, like, they would make their house out of trash, and but they would run outside with smiles on their face and just like kicking a soccer ball around, and just they're full of love and joy. And yeah, it's just, it changes your entire perspective of all of that. And then, just to hear that story, but you took that pain, and you wrote something beautiful. So, did that song just kind of pour out? Like how did that come?
It's funny. Believe I wrote, weirdly enough, for other people. I was like, I want other people to do this. Yeah. Right? And then it turned out it was for me. Right. And there's a line in that song that says, what if you know something I don't?
Yeah.
What if you will something I won't? Right? If you don't give me what I want, but you give me what I need, is that enough to believe? And it's more just like this internal questioning. You just gotta interrogate yourself sometimes. Like, what am I really about?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think we interrogate ourselves enough. I think we like to interrogate other people and yell at other people, and but seldom do we sit in front of our own mirror and like really dig in for see what's in there. Because the answer to that question for me is not always easy. But it's always been, yeah, I will, but I hate it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'll believe, but I don't like it. And that's okay. You don't have to like it. You know what I mean? But like, a lot of people will just like do this surface thing. And the thing with happiness and joy is that if the wind blows the wrong way, your happiness is gone, right? But like joy is the thing you find literally when nothing's going right. That's when you know you're joyful. It's like when nothing's good, right? When my friend Tammy's paying my rent, this isn't me going, look at me, but like you have to have your stuff tested before you can call it joy. Otherwise, it's just feel good stuff. It's just like, surface happiness until it's tested. And a lot of the times, like what we call happiness, once the world pushes on it a little bit, it all just kind of like falls apart,
Yeah. Dude, I love you so much.
I love you too, bro.
This is, man, this is so fulfilling. I love it. I've been able to know your story for so many years, but just, walking through it again, and it's been too long, man.
Yeah, dude, this is awesome. I'm glad we did this in person, not over Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the same.
No, it's never the same. All right. Well, let's talk, pick another song. I don't know. You pick.
Okay. You know what? Okay. Let me see. I love so you guys, you get the record, My Tribe. It came out January 13th.
Yep.
Let's pick, there's a song on there called Grace. It's this dichotomy. So Grace is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a forgiveness song, right? The chorus says, but how much grace can take, I'm not even sure. Look at these mistakes. And I'm sorry, how much grace can take, I don't even know. Look at these mistakes, but where else can I go? How much grace can take, I'm not even sure. But all I have is faith while I'm knocking on her door. I'm screaming, grace, just one more chance, right? So everybody goes, is that about a girl or is that about God? And I'm like, yes. Like, yes. Because everybody wants these like simple answers that, especially in the CCM world, right? They'll be like, they want me to go, oh, it's about God, don't worry. Okay, good. I thought you were singing about a girl for a minute. It's like, what if I am? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
People that are Christians don't have relationships. You know what I mean? Like, you're just people. And that's kind of been a big thing of mine is like, art is about wrestling with a thought. It's not about me giving you all the answers you want so you feel safe. It's about me making something that makes your heart churn a little bit. And if I said to you, yeah, this song is it's about my relationship with God, and you'd be like, okay, cool. You'd be comfy. You'd feel good about it, or if that's kind of the genre you like. But if I said to you it's about a girl, does it invalidate the song or the feeling somehow? And it shouldn't. So I wrote this song that like sits on the edge as far as I say her, right? But am I personifying grace or am I talking about a girl? And I don't give that answer. I just like you to sit with it. So you guys should check that out.
Yeah. Great song. Great album.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. It's on repeat. Yeah. Man. So what's coming out next? What's next for you? Other than Red Rock that I might be at that show.
You should come. So let me see. We have tonight we do the Grammy thing. I'm in Florida for this radio conference. Honestly, I go to LA for 6 weeks. Yeah. From mid-June to the end of July. And that's just writing. We do a bunch of festivals in that time. But I'm excited about LA because it's like a little vacation, but it's also just like me starting to conceive of record number 2. You know what I mean? And after LA, there's a lot of stuff in August. I don't know if we've announced any of it yet, so I can't say it. Okay. But there's a lot of stuff in August. I'm supposed to be going to Nigeria in September.
Yeah, your tour manager sitting over there. He just lifted his head up like, hey.
Shut up. There's a lot of stuff. And lest I get in trouble. But it's going to be fun, man. The rest of the year is going to be a lot of fun. And man, I'm so grateful. And I never forget to say to anybody who's hearing this right now, who's still in the 2018 friends are paying your rent phase, it's worth sticking it out. It's fun, right? And I heard something really cool the other day. Someone said to me, the best thing you can do is quit. And that sounds counterintuitive, but check this out. If you're in that moment where your friends need to pay your rent and you're not happy, quit. And I mean that. And I don't mean that because you shouldn't stick to things. I mean it because if getting up and playing your instrument doesn't make you happy, then a world tour won't either. So if you are in that hard time and getting up and playing your instrument, writing your song and doing your craft isn't bringing you joy, don't do it. Just quit. Because you're nothing, like, it doesn't really change your heart. I was happy then, I'm happy now. I'll be happy no matter what. You know what I mean? But if I wasn't happy then now wouldn't have made me happier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So the best thing you can do for yourself is quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I first heard that, I was like, wait, that's literally the opposite of everything everybody says.
Yeah.
But it's the truest thing ever. Like, when it's the baddest, when it's the lowest, when it's the worst, if you're not happy, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I'm low, I mean, that is where I'm the happiest. I sit down in front of the piano or I pick up my guitar.
Yep. And yet you're still
and it's just, and I don't even perform anymore. I still write a lot, but it's just, it's so true because everything can go away when my fingers start moving on those keys, and it's just like, just peaceful and happiness.
Yes.
And, especially in this industry, that's like, whatever you choose to do for a living, right? You go to work and you can make money.
Yep.
This, you go to work and you can make money when someone says that they're going to pay you.
Yep.
It's like, it's so hard. But yeah, if you're doing it because you absolutely love it and you don't lose that joy and that love, then keep going.
But if you're doing it for any other reason, quit.
Yeah.
Quit immediately.
Yeah.
Do something you love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no shame in it. Like, don't spend 40 years doing something just to turn out you hated it.
Right.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So, hey, go be a lawyer. They make a lot of really regular money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I speak, my uncle is an attorney. I almost became the plan was for me to become a lawyer. I
didn't know that.
Oh yeah. If it was honestly, I remember listening to law lectures with him in the car, and I have a mind. I like the aptitude for it. I could have done it. But, I went to Belmont and I was like commercial voice major because I knew I was never going to be a lawyer, but the immigrant handbook of things to do, lawyers on that list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lawyers there, doctors there, finance is there.
Yeah.
Engineering is there. Every singer-songwriter is not there. You know what I mean? Because that's too risky. But my uncle, who is a lawyer, he was always like, hey, if it gets hard, law school's only 3 years. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? So, and luckily I never had to do it. But if I needed to do something else, if for some reason back then when things were, super hard, if I had given up, which would have never happened, I would have become a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you sitting down with me. This has been so fun, and I can't wait to I want to plan, we're going to do this again in a year or two.
Oh yeah.
And talk about where it's come since then. But I always like to end with the same question.
Yeah.
So you've already given a lot of great advice, but let's turn the tables and go back to you. So if you are talking to, knowing what you know now and everything that you've done, if you're talking to 8-year-old Blessing, what advice do you give yourself today?
I would say to 8-year-old me, nerves only get better the more you do the thing that makes you nervous. Because I was petrified of singing in front of people when I was 8, 9, 10. The first crowd, the first people that heard me sing were my little middle school, elementary school girlfriends. I'd sing to them on the phone. Just serenade people on the phone, you know what I mean? And they'd be like, sing, and I'd be like, okay, I guess I'll sing. And then I'd sing, but I would be so nervous, you know what I mean? And
did you scat for them?
Nah, I wasn't that cool. But I I was nervous. You know, it's a nerve-wracking thing. And the nerves don't mean you shouldn't do it. The nerves mean you need to ask yourself if it's worth pushing through. And I just wanted to be on stage, so I was gonna find a way to push through. And it just meant doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And literally now, when performing is just the most comfortable thing in the entire world. You know what I mean? But also there's that little energy. It's not quite nerves, but it's like buzz. You know, it's a buzz. And then if you don't have the buzz, something's wrong. Because it's a tightrope walk. Like, you're in front of people and you could mess up. And that's cool. Yeah.
Man, great advice.
Yeah, man.
I love it, dude. Thank you so much for sitting down.
Cheers, bro.
Yeah. And can't wait to keep watching how things go, man.
Thank you, sir.
It's going to be awesome. All right, y'all. This is another episode of Stories Behind the Songs. You've been listening to Blessing Offor, and we will see you next time. This has been an episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information after the show, head over to chrisblair.com. That's where you can find information on these episodes, trailer notes, video links, all kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure to leave us a great rating on iTunes, like and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. I really hope that you think this show is awesome, and we really appreciate the love and support. I promise to keep gathering great content and continuing to sit down with more amazing songwriters and artists as we grow. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll see you next time.